Hey y'all, it's Jennifer. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am coming to you with the end of year book tag, and I feel like it's pretty late to be putting this tag up, but it is the end of year book tag, so I really waited until we were truly in the end of the year before deciding to post this. This book tag was originally created by Bissett, so I will tag her down below. And it's just a set of a few questions where we can kind of evaluate our reading here at the end of the year. So let's go on and get into the questions. Question number 1 is about books that you've started and need to finish. And I think probably in truth, I could have listed at least 10 things here. I don't think I ever finished the Dr. Faustus by Thomas Mann. And there are so many other books that at the beginning of the year when I was really in my big reading slump, I just picked things up and put them down automatically. So I think there could be any number of books for this prompt, especially because the majority of the books that I picked up and sat down at the beginning of the year are definitely books that I feel like I would probably enjoy at a different time. I just was not in the mood to read for at least the first 3 months of the year. So one book stuck out to me as something that I feel like I should probably love. And there's a reason why I have held on to it this long and why I've just not unhauled it. And that is Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sue Lynn Tan. I don't know that I even got very far into this. Look, maybe 100 pages. Yep, 100 pages. And I feel sure that this is a book that I should really love. It's inspired by Chinese mythology, and it's actually an adult fantasy book. I believe this has been marketed as YA, but it seems like I just saw the other day that maybe this was nominated in the adult fantasy section for the Goodreads Choice Awards. So that really encourages me as well that this is not actually YA. And it deals with immortal characters. I just feel like it's going to be a book that I love. I really struggled with it at the start of the year, and I feel as though I was kind of bored by it, and that's probably why I put it down. But I really feel like this is a book I should probably love. So this is one that I have been feeling the pull towards quite a lot recently. I've been feeling like I need to give this one another shot. Question number 2 is an autumnal book to transition to the end of the year. And I essentially do this every year when I start to read for Victober. I view a lot of my Victober reading as kind of my gear shift into the end of the year and specifically into autumn. That was certainly the case for me this year as well. I really tend to go on and shift into autumnal kind of end of year reading in September. And so I often start Victober early, which is definitely what happened for me this year. But really, when I look back at my reading for the past couple of months, I don't feel as though I've read very much that I would qualify as autumnal. It's been kind of an odd autumn season for me, being out of town for a couple of weeks, and the weather was very summery when I went out of town. And so to me, it's almost like we haven't really reached autumn yet. And I was thinking about this earlier today that I need to go on and shift my shelves over so that I can start filming for things that are going to go up in the Christmas season. And it was just bizarre to me to think that it was time to take down fall decorations because I don't feel as though I've spent very much time around them, and I don't feel like fall has even gotten here yet. So I feel like my reading has not been very autumnal themed this year. But a book that I think will probably transition me into the winter and also just in general transition me to the end of the year is going to be The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. I am saving this for a rainy day. I read the first book in this trilogy last December, and I read it close to Christmas, and it just was like a very magical experience. It feels like this is going to be the perfect book to transition me to the end of the year, but I really do kind of want to save it and read it in December. I feel like it's going to be a really wonderful December read. Question number 3, is there a new release you're still waiting for? Actually, no, I've waited so late to film this video that the last release I was waiting on for the year has already come out, and that is Foul Lady Fortune by Chloe Gong. I feel like by the time this video is up, you will have seen the vlog where I started reading this, and I realized that I never finished These Violent Delights, that duology. And so I had to put this down because I need to finish that duology before I move into this one. But this is basically like an espionage story that is also a historical fantasy set in Shanghai in the 1930s. It really doesn't get any better than that. And I personally really like Chloe Gong's writing, so I was really excited when she decided that she wanted to write more in kind of the Shanghai world that she's created with all of these really wonderful, like fantastical elements. I was really excited to see that she wanted to stay with some of the same characters and stay in the same area. But this one does feel as though it immediately carries on from the earlier duology, so I need to go back and reread These Violent Delights and finally read These Violent Ends before I can get to this one. Question number 4, 3 books you want to read before the end of the year. One thing that is feeling kind of pertinent to me here at the end of the year, and I think I've mentioned it recently in a couple of videos as well, I really want to tackle my book of the month shelf. The reason being, I have really let things rack up on that shelf. I have gotten a lot of things from Book of the Month over the past few years even that I was really excited about at the time, but that I, for some odd reason, just didn't pick up when I got them. I'm really not sure. And Book of the Month is so hit or miss for me sometimes that I pick a book and then you start reading all of the reviews of it and everyone decides they didn't like that book. And so then you're no longer as encouraged to pick it up. So my goal going forward with Book of the Month is to immediately pick up my pick for that month and not let it sit around and not let it be added onto the TBR shelf, so to speak. So I have a few things from Book of the Month that I got this year that are really high on my priority list, and they are books that I would like to knock out before the end of the year. One of these is the Hacienda, which I have actually DNF'd. So I don't really feel positively about this. And when I picked it up from Book of the Month, I thought I was going to save it for kind of the Halloween season because this is definitely a spookier read. And now it's past the Halloween season and I feel like I kind of missed the boat and I missed the opportunity to read this at the best time of year for it. But I personally feel like I'm probably really going to like this if I give it a shot. I think this is another one that I picked up for the first time when I was really in my slump and I just put it down because I didn't want to read anything. I don't necessarily feel like it was the fault of the book, but a lot of people compare this to Mexican Gothic, which I will tell you was not my favorite. Mexican Gothic was one of my big disappointments of the past couple of years, and so I'm interested to see if this one is really comparable to that. I hope it is better. I also want to get to The Stardust Thief by the end of the year. I've actually started reading this, so good for me. I have very high expectations for this because this is a desert fantasy, and those tend to be my favorites. This has also been compared quite favorably to City of Brass, which is basically my favorite adult fantasy series of all time. So I'm going into this with very high expectations, and that's a lot of the reason why I haven't picked it up before now, is that I thought my expectations were probably too high, and I was expecting something from the book that it's not going to give. One thing that I have to say about Book of the Month that they're bad about is they will do this. They will put out the first book in a series and then they won't have any more books in the series. Sad. And so I hope that's not the case with this. If I really love this, I hope that they do put out the rest of the series in Book of the Month. It seems like this is a fantasy release that was very positively received when it came out. And so that's really encouraging to me, and I personally am looking forward to it. Last but not least of the Book of the Month choices, I have The Last Party by Clare Macintosh. And I know this seems really out of my comfort zone. This is a UK set murder mystery. And in fact, I think it is set in Wales. And I just tend to really enjoy thrillers when they are set in the UK. I am instantly more interested in a thriller, or actually in any book, when it is set in the UK. So I am looking forward to this one. My mom and I often split Book of the Month, and sometimes I'll get a main pick that I think she would like so that I can get an add-on that I think will be more up my street. And this is one that I thought we both might like, and she has gone on and read this and said she really enjoyed it. So I'm looking forward to this, and I think it will be good to have something pretty pacey here at the end of the year. Number 5, a book that could shock you and become your favorite of the year. I feel like I'm going to say that it would be The Ballad of Never After, but this really would not shock me because actually one of my favorite books of the year was also by Stephanie Garber, and I think she's just going to kind of dominate my favorites list this year. I have really enjoyed her, so this wouldn't really be a shock. But I have had some massive hits this year. I mean, truly, I have read some bangers. To be a year where I felt like I wasn't reading very much, I feel as though what I have read has been very, very good. And I personally don't see how anything else I read will beat something like Demian by Hermann Hesse, which is my favorite book of the year. But I think The Ballad of Never After could easily get 5 stars from me. I don't know if I would consider it my favorite of the year. Last but not least, have you already started making reading plans for 2023? Yes and no. I didn't really make big reading plans this year, kind of because I knew I was in a reading slump, I think. And last year, at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, I just was massively depressed. And I didn't really want something that is fun to feel like it had pressure for me. So I really didn't set many goals this year. But I feel like the goals that I did set, I have met. And I really enjoyed the goals that I set this year. And a lot of them were goals that I didn't actually talk about on my channel until after I had done them. And I think that was kind of freeing to me to have goals that I didn't discuss, which meant that there wasn't pressure on reading a certain amount of books in a year, reading a certain list of books that I had made a video about. My main goal this year was to read books that K-pop idols had recommended. And I did not make an introductory video to that at all. I did not list my TBR. And that really allowed me to be free with my choices throughout the year. And I actually think that was a massive success for me. And that is something that I kind of want to fold over into next year. But I really, in a way, have kind of missed having the structure of some goals. So I have already been thinking about what I want 2023 to be. 2021, I themed my year around Napoleon, which was really wonderful. And I think that was helpful. And I don't know that I would do a theme again. I don't know that 2023 will be a big themed year. One of my goals is going to be about annotation. I really enjoy annotating. And I feel like I don't annotate enough because I feel like it slows down the reading process. So next year, I would really kind of like to free myself up to take time to annotate. And I think that's going to be one of my big goals. One of my other big goals is just to consolidate everything into one journal. I have 10 different journals for 10 different things. I have a quote journal. I have a book journal. I have a Bible journal. I have a planner, things like that. And in general, I want to consolidate everything into one that is an easy journal to carry around because my video ideas wind up in one journal. Nothing is ever in the place that I want it to be when I'm ready to do something. I don't feel as if I'm organized. So that's a big goal for me going into the new year, which I think will streamline my reading in a way. But at the same time, I have also really enjoyed the freedom of not having any stringent goals this year. And so part of me wants to keep that up as well going into next year. I just want to feel free to do what I want to do. And I think that's been one of the positive aspects of this year. So yes and no, I have been thinking about 2023, but I'm not sure what I want to do yet. So that was the end of year book tag. I would love to know down below how your end of year reading is going, if you have any goals that you would like to meet before 2023. But that's going to be all for me today. I hope you're all having a great week. Happy reading. Goodbye.